now that we've seen the for loop, which is the most developer friendly of our loops, remember that in a for loop, the expression itself, so when we declare a for, we have initialization, we have testing, and we have incrementation, the update portion of that statement. Everything is contained in that first line of the for loop. The while loop accomplishes exactly the same thing, but it requires a little bit more of the developer. So this is 5.2, an introduction to the while loop, and this starts on page 236. And just like the for loop, the while loop is what is known as a pre-test expression. So before we enter into the lines of code that are associated with the while loop, in which we will see in just a second, it is evaluated for truth first. So it's something to keep in mind as we go through the statement itself here for the while loop. So let's take a look here at our first while loop. It's on page 237. It's program 5-3. So the things that we need to keep in mind here for the while loop are as follows. Number one, we need what is called a priming read. With the for loop, we could declare right there with the initialization portion of the statement, we declared what our counter was going to be, and we actually incremented the counter right there in that statement. With a while loop, we have to set up a condition beforehand that, number one, allows us to enter into the while loop, and number two, allows us a mechanism to get out of the while loop. So here in program 5-3 on 237, you'll notice that we have on line number 7, we have a counter essentially. That counter is called number and it's initialized to 0. So inside of our while statement, so again, while is our keyword in all lowercase. And then inside of the parens is the statement that we're evaluating. And we're saying number is less than 5. So how many times do we think that this while loop is going to execute? Our counter number is set to 0, and our loop says less than 5 times. This is where we can help start to avoid the off by 1 issues. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is less than 5. So if we go through our while statement and we are inside of our while statement, as long as number is less than 5, 4 is less than 5, that much is true. But look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I know. It's a bit of a shift that you'll have to do when thinking here about, math and logic and starting at 0 as opposed to starting at 1. But that's how typically we proceed here in C++. So on line number 9, you can see again our while statement. While, that's our keyword. It's all lowercase. Inside of our parentheses, number is less than 5. So when C++ comes to line number 9, because it's a pre-test, it's going to evaluate this expression first. Is number rather less than 5? Number so far is equal to 0. So yeah, that's less than 5. I can enter into this statement block. Remember again, the same with a selection. So an if else, if else, a switch statement. Remember again, as with the for loop, the line that immediately follows the while is associated with it, or the statement block that's associated with it after that line. Use the statement block every time. When we're using Replit, when you're using Visual Studio, when you're using Visual Studio Code, when you're using Atom, when you're using NetBeans, it doesn't matter. What that does is give to you the nice indentation that you see here, and that really is in your favor. So the evaluation on that expression is tested first. So is number rather less than 5? Yes. Enter into this loop. So we see out hello, but then you'll notice we have to take care of our counter. We have to say number plus plus. We have to iterate that, or else we never get away to leave our expression. So in the for loop, that was taken care of for you in that statement. Here in the while loop, you have to manage that statement and the repetition. It's not managed for you. So if I don't have on line number 12, number plus plus, if I simply comment that line out, what happens is I never give my expression a way of evaluating false, because the next time it comes through is number less than or is number less than 5? Yeah, it's still 0. Go again. Is number less than 5? Yeah, it's still 0. Go again. Number less than 5? Yeah, still 0. Go again. And C++ is happy to do that forever. And that is what is known as an infinite loop. You'll do these, but you always have to give your while expression a way to leave. And that is with that counter that accumulates. So plus plus. And this is, to this day, how I write these when I write blocks of code for you guys. When I go into my while statement and when I have my parentheses there, I say number less than 5. And then I hit enter. I open with a left curly brace a statement block. I hit enter twice and I say whatever that statement is that I'm checking for, plus plus. So that way I know it might not happen immediately, but I will eventually get out of this while statement. It has probably saved me a couple of times in code. I know that telling you guys, if you get in that habit, it saves you from creating infinite loops in your code, but I also know it will be ignored by about 50% of you, and you'll get those infinite loops. It does happen. So we can walk through this again with the while statement with our increment there for number intact. So the first time through, line number 9 is evaluated. Is number less than 5? Yeah, number equals 0. So 0 is our first time through. We display hello, and then number is incremented, number plus plus. So then it goes back up to the top of that while statement, and we check our number again. Is number less than 5? Yes, it's 1. So we go into our loop again. We output hello, we increment number. We go through our loop again. Is number less than 5? Yes, it equals 2. We go through, we output hello, we increment number, we come to the top of our while statement again. This time, number equals 3. Is 3 less than 5? Yes. We output hello, we increment number. It equals 4. We go to the top of our expression. Is number less than 5? Yes. Number is 4. We go through, we print hello, we increment our expression. We go to the top and we evaluate our while statement again. Is 5 less than 5? No. So line number 9 is evaluated as false. So that means in normal flow, C++ will return to line number 14 and output that's all, and then return 0 and then leave. So the while statement uses a little bit more management from you, but the logic itself works exactly the same way as a counter-controlled for loop would. It's just that you get to do the management of it with a priming read and a priming read outside of the while statement. So getting a number from the user or initializing a number at 0 or 1 or wherever you happen to need it. And then inside of your statement, you need to do some kind of incrementation, some sort of an update there, number plus plus. Otherwise, you create an infinite loop and you are stuck inside of your while statement forever.